I said 4 words and set off a chain reaction I could not undo. If you're trying to hold a family together while you're quietly falling apart, this one is for you. We were facing a pandemic and a potential divorce. We packed and rented our house in Westchester, which funded our trip across the country and helped us rent an apartment sight unseen in California. We averted a financial disaster, and at least for the time being, we put our talk of separation and divorce on hold. Things were looking up. When we arrived, we could breathe the open sky, and we were busy setting up our new apartment, exploring our surroundings, and genuinely enjoying each other's company. I started to relax and get more rest for really like the first time in years. Having a house in Westchester was so fun on so many different levels, but it was freezing and I could never get warm, and just soaking up the sunshine in California was such a blessing. We were committed to a new chapter. We got cats, we planted a lemon tree, we were invested in each other, in our family. We reconnected with old friends and made new friends. Anyway, you get the idea. We were creating a life for ourselves in California and very hopeful for the future. We were all settling in. The kids were getting set up in school. We were finally going online, and the world seemed to be returning. My husband was figuring out ways to work remotely, and I was able to finish up some coursework that I had been doing with UX design and really focus on my personal work with photography. I was experimenting more and more and had a newfound sense of freedom in my work. The more aligned I felt with myself, the more deeply I wanted to repair and connect with my husband. But eventually our pesky dynamic showed itself. We were great at adventuring, but not so great at navigating life's little problems. And in hindsight, I think we both felt unappreciated. We started arguing more and more. We tried everything: therapy, coaching, dating again, walks, flowers, cacao sessions. We even considered ayahuasca. When I was with him, I felt an anxiety that was so intense, but at the same time, it was unfamiliar to me as my own. I felt like I was being suffocated. And there was no way to move forward without either abandoning myself or repairing our relationship authentically. I became disillusioned. He spoke to me in a sharp and cold tone filled with expectation. His controlling way did not bode well with my rebellious streak of my teenage years. I took this personally. It hurt me deeply, and I reacted badly with anger and retaliation. I didn't like the person that I was becoming. In the meantime, my mom's health was declining and she needed more and more help. She had a roommate that had OCD and a hoarding issue. So Zoe and I flew into New York, got the roommate out, moved all of his stuff into the living room. It was an ordeal. And then we rented the room in about 1 week and made sure that my mom was good to go. And then we flew back to California. I started having these strange accidents, like falling, and I seriously injured my back. Another time I fell and I hit my face on the edge of the bed. I was out of whack, and I could no longer deny that I needed to do something different. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't pursue the things that once made me happy. And having a social life once again seemed almost impossible. And then I said the words. Even though I was the one to initiate the divorce, I felt like my nervous system was exploding. I had so many mixed feelings, and I instantly wondered if I had done the right thing. Besides an emotional tsunami, there was all of these practical decisions to work out. I sold my ring and paid off some bills and put away a small amount of money as a nest egg. Still, there were so many questions, and the logistics seemed insurmountable. I was grateful that Israel and I had gone through the task of doing conscious uncoupling. Not that we were perfect, but we were aligned on certain things that I knew would make it easier, or at least possible, to try to be civilized. The idea of separating was really conflicting for me. So on the one hand, I felt like I had to listen to my body. On the other, the idea of splitting up our family was really devastating. I had always dreamed of having a family and sticking together through thick and thin, and I felt that my husband and I were really so close to working it out. About 3 months later, Israel was talking to a high school sweetheart for comfort and support at first. In addition to that, my mom got sick about a month later, and now the pressure was on. My ex was now fully dating his high school sweetheart and going to see her in Washington, D.C. on the weekend. I needed like 3 of me. I was so relieved to have finally worked out at least some of the details. My husband and I decided that the smartest thing to do was not to get an apartment nearby in California, but since we both have connections in New York City, we decided to rotate 1 month at a time back and forth to New York. This seems a little bit crazy, but it kind of worked because he had work in the city and so did I. So we would switch, and this gave us a big chunk of time with our son. So bird nesting is a co-parenting agreement in which the child or children stays in the family home and the off-duty parent rotates in and out and stays elsewhere during a set schedule. The idea is that the child or children will not be as affected, both emotionally and physically, moving back and forth. And it made it very clear what the boundaries were around switching. It was difficult, but we at least had the operations part under some kind of thing that made sense to us. Here's the twist. We were in a groove for about 7 or 8 months when I remember when I got the call. I was walking in New York City. I happened to be in New York City, and I was downtown at the Flatiron building, and my soon-to-be ex called me and said, I have news that's going to change our lives. It's potentially good news, but it's going to affect us. Now, going back and forth to check on my mom and orchestrate her home health aid situation. And I had a job in New York that was part-time, but it was still some money coming in. And that's when he threw this into the mix. And that put me back in California. Someone had to be with Jude, and that was me because I had a part-time job. And he was in his second year of high school. So we were faced with the decision of taking Jude out right away, finishing out the semester, and then relocating to New York, or staying in California, and then who was going to oversee what was happening with my mom. I do have a sister, by the way, but she's not able to help. So
that's the story. And tune in next week to see what happened.
Now, this was a huge decision, and we weren't ready to make it overnight.